Hello, and welcome to yet another completely unprofessional unboxing. Scott here, and once again without my handsome mug in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Yes, my Kiyu Ryzen camera is still giving me hell. It will not. It will turn on for a few minutes and it will turn off, so I'm still dealing with that, but it looks like it may be going back to them and getting a new replacement because I do not have the patience for crappy technology. And speaking of crappy technology, as you will notice that this is not your standard unboxing. I do have a copy of the Pendragon Starter Set here, as this is effectively a take two, as I did an unboxing with the full box with the wonderful Coleman camping steak knife and the whole 9 yards. But unfortunately, through most of the video, it looks like the frame rates were dropping for some reason, and it looked like absolute crap. But back to what's important, and on a lighter note, we are here to take a look at and unbox, the actual Pendragon Starter Set box set. All You Need for Adventure in a World of Chivalry and Honor by Greg Stafford himself. So, a little bit of history regarding this. I have been anticipating this for quite some time now, as is many, many, many people, due mostly to my excitement for the setting, but also being involved and speaking with people who were directly involved with the creation of this, be it certain people who worked on it, the primary line editor, David Larkins, through the Titterpigs podcast, who was very kind to go over the details of not just the Pendragon Starter Set, but the game itself and what to expect, and then provided us a wonderful playthrough of the Quick Start, which the adventure is within this box, but a little bit more detailed than the one that you get in the little Quick Start PDF or the little Quick Start magazine or whatever, handout, pamphlet, call it what you want. Pieces of paper stapled together. So yes, a lot of excitement, revolving around this, not just for me, but for other people, as we finally get to take a look in detail what we have been anticipating for the 6th edition of the Pendragon role-playing game. So just real quick, what's on the back. So for those who aren't familiar, which would be a shocker, but it's always someone's first role-playing game. Pendragon is Chaosium's innovative role-playing game of adventure, romance, and intrigue set in the marvelous world of King Arthur and the champions of the Round Table. Players take on the roles of heroic knights, men and women who harness their passions and beliefs in their quest for honor and glory. With their companions, brave squires, seekers of knowledge, and courtly folk of good heart at their side, they are all that stand between Arthur's vision of a just and humane future and the dire forces that would see it fail. Excuse me while I take a little drink. There we go. That's better. It's a little dry here today as it's starting to heat up. So yes. So, like with most Chaosium box sets, there's going to be a wonderful assortment of goodies and things within this box. It doesn't seem to be quite as large as the RuneQuest starter set. So, but that doesn't mean it's going to be lacking in any detail. But we will take a look inside and see what it's going to provide for both you and I. So, first off, the cover, of course. To be expected, beautiful artwork, and I would expect nothing less within the pages of the books. So what is in this box? So you have your standard pamphlet of what is in the Chaosium box, and you will have inside Book 1, The Adventure of the Sword and Stone, which is the solo quest adventure. Chaosium's done a wonderful job with these solo games. Introducing people into not just the setting but the rules through a wonderful playthrough of a single solo quest to strengthen the foundation before you decide to run the game. Because not many people, I shouldn't say not many people, but some people, have a problem. And again, not a problem, but when they read the rules of any role-playing game, sometimes it's hard to envision how the game actually works until you get it to the table, which sometimes can lead to good outcomes and others, what I may describe as maybe more fumbling in their outcome. But playing through something in this solo quest format does give the opportunity to provide you a better foundation when you decide to run this game or even play the game. Book 2, the Fabled Realm. This is further details on the game's setting and the core mechanics, and as likewise some of the lore within the world. Pendragon, and then finally the Sword Campaign, detailed 5-year campaign. Note 5-year. We'll touch on that a little later. That takes the player knights through the most important early events of the Boy King's reign, battles, feasts, larger-than-life foes, and strange creatures. All this and much, much more await. Excuse me. 4 appendices with details of rules and setting details and pre-generated characters. 8 beautiful handouts for your pre-gens, and an assortment of 18 battle cards for encounters and opportunities. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Chaosium box set without some dice that are appropriate for the game. So, set that aside. Slide this over here. So the first book you have is The Adventure of the Sword and the Stone. And as mentioned, it is the solo quest that is essentially designed to introduce you to the game and the setting that Chaosium is providing to you. And as mentioned, it's a wonderful job at these things. So wonderful that they publish some outside of the starter sets that people enjoy, primarily for Call of Cthulhu. But who knows? Who knows where these particular solo quests may lead in the future as to what Chaosium provides. But it is definitely a recommendation for not just the game master, but even the players play their way through this introduction because it can give you some some immersive qualities as to what the world's like in detail, and also there's as nice as it is to to have the skills to be able to teach people how to play a game. It is a lot easier when you're running a game that when people already know how to play, or they already know the rules. So you're going to get I think somewhat of a generic character, give it a name, and as you go through, it will introduce you to the variety of rules, skills, battle skills, passions, and traits, and give you essentially a taste before you pick up the rule book and go in details. But at least it will create a familiarity of the rules as you read through them in more detail. And just want to state here, so yes, one of the things that you'll see within this and the other Pendragon books is the illuminated pages, the format they have within here, which is an aesthetic decision, and one that that Chaosium tends to do with all of their books as far as the layout is concerned, or all their settings. Again, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful design choice. It's beautiful, and it's in its layout and its design, and yeah, it does again provide a little bit of immersion into the game itself as far as when you're reading through the books. And then we have some other actual charcoal or pencil drawings in here. And sorry, my phone is buzzing. I'm just going to turn it off. And so, as you see, it's like a choose your own adventure, so to speak, but more of like the game books of old, where yes, there were page flipping back and forth, but you would be rolling dice for your outcome, and it wasn't just decisions you made that could end your story within these books, but also the roll of the die. So it makes it a little bit more personally engaging, as opposed to just pick A, B, or C and see what happens. So once you're done with the solo quest, you'll make your way to the end of it. There'll be some information on story awards and what kind of knight are you, depending on the outcome of the book, and then you will move on to the second book in the box set. It's here, Book 2, The Fabled Realm. So the Fabled Realm is primarily details of the rules. It's going to briefly touch on the lore and give you a beautiful map of the realms in the time of Arthur Pendragon, England, Scotland, Ireland, and all that. Providing information on the variety of customs within the realm, the oaths of chivalry, knights and how to be a knight, what do they do, their measures, and the daily life of those who are knights, the lords and ladies, and the other cycles of nature that occur within a castle or manor hall. So next up, it goes into details of the game system. So the system uses a 20-sided die, and to determine the outcomes of most things, the 6-sided are also rolled for certain randomization and damage within the game. Excuse me. Let's get another drink there. But effectively, the 20-sided die, it's going to be a roll under system. So, and then including such things as critical successes and fumbles. The interesting aspect of this one, though, is you're using a 20-sided die to roll under a particular trait or skill. But a critical success is not a 1. A critical success is if you actually match the roll of the value that you're trying to obtain. Meaning that if you needed to roll a 17 for charge and you actually rolled it, then it creates a critical success and the outcomes that accompany it, along with fumbles. Fumbles are a natural 20. Unless you have a statistic value that is 20 or more. Opposed resolution within the game is fairly simple also. If you roll equal to or less than your statistic and higher than the roll of your opponent, then you're the winner. If you essentially roll under or greater than your statistic, you lose. And partial successes occur when your roll is successful, but lower than your opponent's roll. So various degrees of outcome. It's not just win or lose with opposed rolls. There's a variety of things that can occur during that. Oh, excuse me. God, I don't know what's going on today. Allergies are acting up. So carrying on. And of course, a variety of modifiers that occur that can happen to add to your rolls, to whether they be damage modifiers, trait and passion modifiers, which we'll get on here in a little bit, and other things such as skill modifiers, details on experience. So characteristics within this version are going to be size, dexterity, strength, constitution, and appeal. Which that's an important part of the romanticized Arthurian legends and mythos. You're not just kicking down the door within this game, but you want to be a handsome or beautiful knight. Which appeals to others within the realm of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Other things that come into play are the glory roll. Movement, which is abstracted for the purposes of quick resolution, so not much detail in there, not really a lot of strategic aspects when it comes to combat within the game as far as movement's concerned. And of course, your squires. Your squires play a big part within the game, as you are a knight and lord of the land, and your job is to pass on your experience and your training to younger nobles within the realm. And of course, your squire is there for you to kick around. I mean, train or kick around. So 2 important things within the game are traits and passions. So your traits represent your character's personality. Will always have 13 opposed trait pairs, each pair equaling 20. So when one trait increases, the opposite decreases by the same amount in an endless tug of war between virtue and vice, which is an important aesthetic of the game. All right, so carrying on, we have trait levels within the game. These are trait values that are categorized into four different levels: unsung, normal, famous, and exalted. An unsung trait is a value of 0 to 4, normal 5 to 15, famous 16 to 20, and exalted is 20 plus critical bonus. Trait rolls within the game have a variety of results, from criticals to successes to failures to absolute fumbles, which you do not want. Trait modifiers affect this, of course. And carrying on, traits are defined. Here's a few examples of some of them. Chaste versus lustful, forgiving versus vengeful, spirituality versus worldly, temperate versus indulgent, valorous versus cowardly. And of course, there's religious virtues within the game, and they tend to cover most of the ones that would be around at the time, from Christian to pagan to Wodinic. Things such as worshiping the old. I would imagine Wodinic. I could be wrong, but that's dealing with Odin and whatnot. But go ahead and correct me on that. Don't care. I'll look it up myself. Next up, we have passions. So passions play another important aspect of the game. They do have a variety of values themselves. An unsung passion of a value of 1 through 5, all the way up to an exalted passion, which has a value of 20 plus a critical bonus. So passions are interesting. They are those who have played within RuneQuest may be familiar with the base way of how they work, but your passions play out a little differently within this setting than they would within the world of Glorantha, but they are invoked in a variety of ways. So when you encounter a subject of your passion, i.e. your lady love, the player may choose to attempt if their passion level is normal. If their level is famous or exalted, though, they must attempt the roll. So, classic example, if you were trying to disguise yourself and you saw your lady love, and you may need to invoke that passion to determine if you will remain in disguise, and if not, you will reveal yourself to her because you have no control over the love that you have for this fine lady. But other things, that's just an example. But you may also request to make a passion roll in a crisis. And you also may request to make a passion roll by trying to impress, defend, or destroy the subject of your passion. So your passion could be things that you love and things that you hate. With some examples over here, such as homage to your lord, loyalty to your king, hate a particular person or group, loving your family, loving a particular person, adoration, chivalry, station, and hospitality, and whatnot. So depending on the outcomes of your passions, they can have positive aspects, but they also could have other things such as afflictions and madness, meaning that if you've absolutely devastated, again, that the woman whose heart that you seek slights you, it could cause you to go absolutely insane and or even melancholy. It's definitely going to have a detrimental effect where it could be anything. It's just being, sad, a sad panda for a few days, to flinging off all of your worldly possessions and running off naked and screaming into the local grove of woods. Carrying on, we have skills within the game. Skills are, pretty much your standard set of skills you would expect. Again, tailored for the particular setting. Such as Sharugery, I think that's how you pronounce it. Other things such as courtesy, folklore, flirting, falconry, stewardship, orate, things that are specific to the game itself. Honor and glory, another important attribute of this particular setting. Honor is a measure of your knight's integrity, decency, and morality. This is the basis for personal and social conduct, both necessary and virtuous. And then you can gain honor through honorable deeds and that go beyond your normal expected duties. And also another important part of the game is glory, and the object of the game is to obtain glory. And glory is a measure of fame accumulated for deeds done. Only nobles can gain glory. And of course, utilize that glory accordingly. At the end of the year during the winter phase, which we'll get to shortly. Combat, again. Combat has all of the various aspects you would come to expect with something such as Pendragon. It is procedural. You declare your actions, you resolve your actions. There's the winner's outcome first, the loser's outcome second, and then combat movement at the end. But certain things can come into play during this regarding a variety of actions, specifically things such as calling your squire for support and mounted combat, which of course would play a big part of Pendragon and the world of King Arthur. Carrying on, we have things that you would come to expect in regards to the arms and armor of this particular setting, and from a variety of different swords, doing a variety of different damage aspects. Again, damage is handled by d6s, but a lot of these things can accrue multiple d6s as far as damage is concerned, but also depending on the weapon, they can provide you advantages and disadvantages, not just for melee, but also missile and thrown weapons. And then, of course, what would be, any sort of game that involves knights and chivalry? It's your horses. So important to the aesthetic of the Arthurian mythos that even if you don't have a horse, such as in Monty Python, having your squire ride around banging coconuts together to allude to the fact that you have a horse, because if you don't have a horse, you are not a knight. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of details regarding horses and how they function within the game. And then finally, not finally, but almost finally, Chapter 9, Injury and Health. It is a very deadly game. Combat is swift and deadly. This is why knights must have high valorous traits. So damage is essentially represented by hit points, but also depending on the hit points, the amount of hit points that you take, wounds can occur within the game, both major and minor. And these will definitely have devastating effects, both in the moment and long term, depending on what they are and how quickly or how skillfully you can get these particular wounds treated. Let's see here. Of course, there's other things like aggravation, deterioration, and falling damage within the game. And then with this particular chapter, healing and recovery is another important aspect. So Shuruguri, I think is how it was pronounced. Someone who is actually providing you support to help you deal with these wounds and lost hit points. There's also first aid. But depending on the situation, usually it's natural healing that is going to bring you back up to par, and that is done through whatever the healing rate is of your character, and depending on your activity during the week that you are laid up, or weeks. So, and then finally, wealth and treasure, because you are a wealthy lord or lady of the land who has a particular station. And these stations do not pay for themselves, so getting wealth and treasure is another important aspect to utilize as you begin to gain glory and notice within the realm. And but ways of securing treasure, there's a variety of ways within the starter set. Of obviously, honor being important aspect of chivalry. Sometimes death is not the end all when you're dealing with someone who you are battling against. Ransom, capture is an important aspect, and likewise loot. I mean, if someone's dead, they're not using it anymore, so it is now your property to scoop up and add to your accounts. And finally, we have the winter phase. So the winter phase is, in this particular version, seems to be a bit watered down as opposed to what's going to be coming in the core rulebook. But effectively, each part of your campaign, or as you're running the game, is done over the course of a year. And at the end of each year, you will do the winter phase, is when you will accumulate all of the various things that you have done, and apply experience rolls to the particular skills or things that that you have succeeded on to increase them. You can go into training and practice and pick one of these things to increase, be it a personality trait, a passion, change a passion, change a characteristic, train skills up to 15, up to 20, and then finally you tally your glory, and you can go ahead and use use your glory to spend for prestige awards. For every 1,000 points of glory attained, you can go ahead and utilize that to purchase rewards, such as raising a statistic by 1 point, or lower the value of a passion by 1 point. And with that, another year in the life of the player knights is complete. So the rules themselves, having played through an actual play of the game with the line editor and running it myself at Strategicon, the rules themselves aren't overly complicated, but there are things that you just need to keep track of, whether it be the passage of time, wounds, the accumulation and successes of your skills, but it's not overly crunchy in how that is handled. Excuse me. So, allergies suck. All right. Maybe I'll cut that out, but I know I won't. All right, book 3. So we have the Sword Campaign. So the Sword Campaign, as stated earlier, incorporates the beginning adventure, which is the tournament or the adventure of the sword tournament within the which was within the quick start, and but there's a little bit more meat to it in here, and then carries on with the adventure of the Forest of the Silver Deer and the adventure of the Broken Sword. Not going to go into too much detail through this because I don't want to spoil it, so I'm just going to do a little kind of quick page through. As you can see, in a similar format, and as everything else. So there's quite a bit in here, but I'll be perfectly honest. There's not as much as far as content is concerned in regards to like RuneQuest, the RuneQuest Quick Start. But the other thing I've noticed, which I kind of was pointing out earlier, is it says that it goes through 5 years. 5 years in the world of King Arthur, but if you look through the book 3 of the Sword Campaign, it only covers 3 years, which I don't know if it was an editing choice. I don't know if it was due to space, because like I said, this box set here is not very thick, even though you do get quite a bit within it. So I'd be curious to note if the 5 years mentioned here was maybe a mistake, or if there was some last minute changes that were applied in the realms of editing to kind of make it all fit, because space is limited within any box set. And but if those 2 years, if they are going to be coming out in additional content before the core rulebook comes out, because we really don't know. I mean, if there's enough here to keep you busy and excited and running through the world of Pendragon as we await for more content to come out, meaning the core rulebook. But if the core rulebook is coming around the corner, great. But if there's going to be some time taken between the release of this and the core rulebook, I would hope, in order to keep the ball rolling within the game and to hold people's interest beyond the starter set, that these missing years might come out in PDF form, whether they be for purchase or free or whatever the case may be. But it would be nice to know, because the game itself does give you a little bit of extra information if you want to carry on your adventures within the world of Pendragon until the additional core rulebook comes out and other supplements, but not as much as you would if you were running something within Call of Cthulhu, or the starter set, or the RuneQuest starter set. So and you'll find out here in a moment. So yeah, so that is the third book, the Sword Campaign. So So 3 different adventures covering 3 years. Each one having a bit of an alternative outcome, but note you are existing within the world of King Arthur. So there is a line of events that are either occurring in the foreground or the background. Excuse me. That is going to occur regardless of what it is you're doing. So as someone might put it as, it's a bit of a railroad, but that doesn't mean railroads are bad. I mean, it just seems you are existing within a predetermined set of events. That doesn't mean that you can't make a difference, but realistically speaking, unless your game master says so, you're not going to change the whole of the story of King Arthur, unless unless you decide to go off the rails, which again is fine. But anyways, so moving on from my little bit of critique and minor complaint there. So we've got our beautiful pre-generated characters in a portfolio form, and as you can see, large, easy to read, with all the information that you need as far as utilizing these characters through a variety of adventures in the book or some of your own. And some people might take offense to this, but use these. Hand them to your players and let them write on these damn things. I mean, these are meant to be used because they're wonderfully organized. They're easy to keep track of everything that you're doing within the game, and obviously these will probably carry over into other aspects, similar to how they do in RuneQuest and Glorantha. And if you are so worried about damaging these little bits of paper, then get yourself one to put on yourself for posterity's sake, and then get yourself a second one so your players can use these. These are wonderful. So we have your options within the starter set. Dame Dame Gwynhild, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We have Cadwallon and Dame Tamora, Sir Avalok, Dame Linnell, Sir Avrain, Sir Clarion, and finally, Sir Loin of Beef. No, Sir Asteris. So you do have a variety of choices in there as far as running the gambit of what's provided within the setting. And then a couple little things that comes with the box set is some battle cards. These are perforated, and I would recommend that you get yourself a razor blade or something, because just looking at these things, even though they are perforated, they do not look like they tear very well. So unless you have the hands of a doctor, you will probably end up tearing some aspect of this as you take these apart. So if you're worried about maintaining the physical aesthetic of the game, get yourself a razor blade or some sort of sharp instrument to cut those. Not a steak knife. Not for that. You need equipment for the job, but I'll use a steak knife. So getting back to keeping yourself busy within the world of Pendragon, between the adventures that you're doing and hopefully the release of more to come. There are a variety of minor things that they give you details about. So visiting a foreign court, here's the rules which will occur within the adventures. But if you'd like to create some aspects of your own, there's details in here on, not just visiting a foreign court, but receiving foreign dignitaries into your own castle or manor. Information regarding overland movement within the game. A variety of details on battles and running a battle. So, of course, one of the things that you can do outside of the adventures is stage your own battle or recreation of one of the many battles that accompany the Arthurian mythos. And then finally, we have tournaments, information regarding tournaments and whatnot. And They do touch on details, but the important question here regarding tournaments is what about the joust? Okay, so the modern reader no doubt associates tournaments with jousting, and over the reign of King Arthur, that sport does indeed rise in popularity, eventually eclipsing and even replacing the Grand Melee. However, during the time period covered by the starter set, tournaments are still brand new. The formula rules for jousting are of yet to be developed, much less implemented in the field. Jousts are not the only thing that appears in later tournaments, either displays of helms, shields, formal challenges, and general pageantry put on by knights and gentry alike turn the tournament into a true spectacle. Eventually, tournaments began requiring small entry fees, so on and so forth, but that is a tale for another day. So, yes, touching on a few minor things within there to kind of give you a little bit of extra meat to the game, other than just what's provided within the adventures. But is it enough to keep you busy or keep you occupied if you decide that this game is for you while you await more materials? And it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It really depends on what Chaoisum decides to do between the downtime of the production of this and what they're currently working on in regards to the core rulebook. So it it remains to be seen, as I say. So that is one thing I wanted to touch on is I noticed this during the original fail video is there's no fold out map, which was a bit of a disappointment. Being a map aficionado like I am, I would have loved to have seen a full color fold out map accompanying this box set. It is I feel that it is sorely missed from this. I mean, they do give you details of the maps here within the on the back of the books here, but reference points fine. But this is something that you can't utilize at the table. Would have been nice for this particular box set to be able to put out several of the details of the maps, Londinium, a map of the realms and whatnot on the table for the player characters to see. But I assume that the will probably be coming either with the core rule book or more than likely, which will probably end up being the GM screen and GM accessories. So more than likely some of that stuff will be within there. But still, it would have been nice to have seen it here because it is a beautiful map and definitely worth putting out in large format. So there you have it. That is the Pendragon Starter Set. Let me put these in here before they get lost. So I am very happy with how this turned out. It is, as mentioned many times, highly anticipated, and definitely something that not just the fans of Pendragon, but new fans who have heard about this have been waiting for some time. And I am not disappointed in the least. Of course, with any game, there's going to be a few nitpicks here or there. No map, the missing years for some reason, but it is not a detriment to the game as a whole. It is definitely going to provide to you an enlightening experience into what the Pendragon game is like. It's going to evoke a sense of immersion and depth into the world of the Arthurian mythos, and the way that it holds your hand, not only through the solo game, but the wonderful layout describing the mechanics of the game. Without question, this is going to provide to you a clear idea if this particular game is for you and something you want to pursue without devastating your wallet, because there's nothing worse than spending, we'll say, $150 on 3 books and finding out that this game is just not for you. So it is most definitely worth the investment, and I'm pretty sure that minus the minor flaws that accompany any game, that fans of Pendragon, new fans to the game, and likewise people who may not be anticipating at all, but may find this game presented in front of them, will definitely find enjoyment for some time as they discover and explore the world of Pendragon as we await the coming core rulebook to accompany this. So there you are, the Pendragon Starter Set. Fantastic, 2 thumbs up. It is a wonderful addition to the Chaoisum line, and it exceeds the expectations. Even though that may be a bit of a fanboy talking, as opposed to a critical thinking reviewer, which I am not. I am definitely a softie and believe in the realm of nepotism when it comes to games. If I know you and I like you as a person or as a friend, I'm going to like your game no matter what. But this one definitely goes beyond that, in my opinion. So there you are. This has been yet another completely unprofessional unboxing. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you feel up to it. There'll be a link to the starter set within the description if you want to check this game out. And if you're interested in other things that I do, please check out Titterpigs, the tabletop RPG podcast, which you can find on any podcast provider that I do with Keith from Rolling Boxcars, where we talk about various tabletop RPG topics and have the occasional interview with all the wonderful, crazy people that make up this hobby and support it. So, thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful day.